The Aztec Empire was one of the most powerful and advanced civilizations in the world during its time. It was located in what is now Mexico and lasted from the 14th to the 16th century. The Aztecs were known for their advanced agricultural practices, complex social structure, and their unique religious beliefs. The Aztec Empire began as a small tribe in the 12th century, but it wasn't until the 14th century that they began to expand their territory. They started by conquering neighboring tribes and absorbing them into their own society. This process continued for several decades until the Aztecs had established a vast empire that spanned most of modern-day Mexico. One of the key factors that allowed the Aztecs to expand so rapidly was their military prowess. The Aztec army was well-trained and well-equipped, and they were able to defeat much larger armies through their use of advanced tactics and weaponry. They also had a system of tribute, where conquered tribes would pay tribute to the Aztecs in exchange for protection. The Aztecs were also known for their advanced agricultural practices. They built complex irrigation systems and terraced fields that allowed them to grow crops in areas that were otherwise unsuitable for farming. This allowed them to support a large population and helped to fuel their expansion. The Aztecs had a complex social structure that was based on a caste system. At the top were the nobles and priests, followed by the commoners, and at the bottom were the slaves. The nobles and priests held most of the power in Aztec society and were responsible for governing the empire. Religion played a central role in Aztec society. The Aztecs believed in a pantheon of gods and goddesses, and they believed that human sacrifice was necessary to appease these deities. They built elaborate temples and performed elaborate rituals to honor their gods. In conclusion, the Aztec Empire was a powerful and advanced civilization that was known for its military prowess, advanced agricultural practices, complex social structure, and unique religious beliefs. It began as a small tribe in the 12th century and expanded rapidly through conquest and absorption of neighboring tribes. The Aztecs left a lasting legacy that can still be seen in modern-day Mexico. The 15th century is considered the golden age of the Aztec Empire. During this time, the empire reached its peak in terms of power, wealth, and cultural achievements. The Aztecs were able to establish a vast trading network that spanned much of Mesoamerica, and they built some of the most impressive architectural structures of their time. One of the most impressive architectural structures built by the Aztecs was the Great Temple of Tenochtitlan. This massive temple was dedicated to the Aztec gods Huitzilopochtli, and Tlalocan was the center of religious life in the empire. The temple was built over several decades and was decorated with intricate carvings and sculptures. The Aztecs were also known for their impressive artwork. They created intricate pottery, jewelry, and textiles that were highly prized by neighboring tribes. They also created impressive works of sculpture, including the famous Aztec calendar stone, which is now on display in the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City. The Aztecs were also skilled engineers. They built a system of causeways and canals that allowed them to transport goods and people throughout the empire. They also built impressive aqueducts that brought fresh water to the city of Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs were able to establish a vast trading network that spanned much of Mesoamerica. They traded in a wide variety of goods, including cotton, cacao, and precious metals. They also traded in exotic animals, such as jaguars and macas, which were highly prized by the nobility. Despite their many achievements, the Aztecs were not without their problems. They faced constant threats from neighboring tribes, and their system of human sacrifice was controversial even within their own society. In the end, it was the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century that brought about the downfall of the Aztec Empire. In conclusion, the 15th century was the golden age of the Aztec Empire. During this time, the Aztecs achieved great cultural, architectural, and engineering feats. They established a vast trading network and created impressive works of art and sculpture. However, their society was not without its problems, and the arrival of the Spanish ultimately led to their downfall. The arrival of the Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century marked the beginning of the end for the Aztec Empire. Led by hand courts, the Spanish were able to defeat the Aztecs through a combination of military might, political maneuvering, and the spread of disease. When Cortes arrived in Mexico in 1519, he was initially welcomed by the Aztecs, who believed he was a god. However, it wasn't long before Cortes began to assert his authority and demand tribute from the Aztecs. This led to a series of conflicts between the Spanish and the Aztecs, culminating in the siege of Tenochtitlan in 1521. The siege of Tenochtitlan was a brutal affair that lasted for several months. The Spanish were able to cut off the city's food and water supplies, and they bombarded the city with cannon fire. The Aztecs fought back fiercely, but they were ultimately defeated. The city was looted and burned, and many of its inhabitants were killed or enslaved. One of the key factors that allowed the Spanish to defeat the Aztecs was their use of horses and firearms. The Aztecs had never seen horses before, and they were terrified by the sight of these massive animals charging towards them. The Spanish also had firearms, which gave them a significant advantage in battle. Another factor that contributed to the downfall of the Aztecs was the spread of disease. The Aztecs had no immunity to diseases like smallpox, which were brought over by the Spanish. As a result, many Aztecs died from these diseases, which weakened their society and made them more vulnerable to Spanish conquest. In the end, the Spanish were able to conquer the Aztec Empire and establish their own rule over Mexico. The legacy of the Aztecs lies on, however, in the many cultural and architectural achievements they left behind. In conclusion, the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire was a brutal affair that marked the end of one of the most powerful civilizations in the world. The Spanish were able to defeat the Aztecs through a combination of military might, political maneuvering, and the spread of disease. The legacy of the Aztecs lies on, however, in the many cultural and architectural achievements they left behind. Although the Aztec Empire was conquered by the Spanish in the 16th century, its legacy lies on in modern-day Mexico. The Aztecs left behind a rich cultural heritage that is still celebrated and admired today. One of the most enduring legacies of the Aztecs is their language, Nahuatl. Although it was suppressed by the Spanish during the colonial period, Nahuatl has experienced a resurgence in recent years and is now spoken by millions of people in Mexico and Central America. The Aztecs were also known for their impressive architectural achievements. Although many of their buildings were destroyed by the Spanish, some still remain, such as the Templo Mayor in Mexico City. This massive temple complex was rediscovered in the 20th century and is now a major tourist attraction. The Aztecs were also skilled artists and craftsmen. They created intricate pottery, jewelry, and textiles that were highly prized by neighboring tribes. They also created impressive works of sculpture, such as the famous Aztec calendar stone. The Aztecs were also known for their unique religious beliefs. Although their system of human sacrifice was controversial, it was also an integral part of their society. The Aztecs believed that human sacrifice was necessary to appease their gods and maintain the balance of the universe. In addition to their cultural achievements, the Aztecs also made significant contributions to science and technology. They developed a sophisticated system of agriculture that allowed them to support a large population, and they built impressive aqueducts and causeways that are still admired today. In conclusion, the legacy of the Aztec Empire lies on in modern-day Mexico. The Aztecs left behind a rich cultural heritage that is still celebrated and admired today. Their language, architecture, art, and religious beliefs continue to inspire and fascinate people around the world. The Aztec Empire was one of the most powerful and advanced civilizations in the world during its time. It was located in what is now Mexico and lasted from the 14th to the 16th century. The Aztecs were known for their advanced agricultural practices, complex social structure, and their unique religious beliefs. The Aztecs began as a small tribe in the 12th century, but they were able to expand rapidly through conquest and absorption of neighboring tribes. They established a vast empire that spanned most of modern-day Mexico and achieved great cultural, architectural, and engineering feats. Despite their many achievements, the Aztecs were not without their problems. They faced constant threats from neighboring tribes, and their system of human sacrifice was controversial even within their own society. In the end, it was the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century that brought about the downfall of the Aztec Empire. Although the Aztec Empire was conquered by the Spanish, its legacy lies on in modern-day Mexico. The Aztecs left behind a rich cultural heritage that is still celebrated and admired today. Their language, architecture, art, and religious beliefs continue to inspire and fascinate people around the world. In conclusion, the Aztec Empire is a powerful and advanced civilization that made significant contributions to the world. Its legacy lies on in modern-day Mexico and serves as a reminder of the rich cultural heritage of the Americas.